I am in Donji Karin, which is fairly local to my house. Not much of a drive, and I haven't been here before, so I thought I felt like going for a walk somewhere. A walk and a talk, that's why I brought you guys along with me. But I thought, why not? Instead of just going down the normal walk around my village, just drive somewhere local and explore a new area, have a bit of exercise and create a vlog. So that's 3 birds with 1 stone, right? Anyway, I wanted to talk about today what just randomly comes up on my mind, which is basically some tips I would give to people who plan to move to Croatia full time. So some of you that may watch my channel may think, just by watching my channel, oh, I would really love to live in Croatia. I'm going to focus towards making that happen. So what I would first of all suggest is first delve into Croatia, like explore Croatia. Go there during the summer, and not just the summer, but go there potentially during the winter. Just so that you can maybe remove the expectation of maybe expecting what it's like in the summer to be the same in the winter. So I think it's very paramount in wherever you plan to maybe make your permanent home that you kind of explore the different seasons. Now personally, I didn't spend a single winter here before I kind of moved here. So I had no clue what it was going to be like. Not that this really impacted too much, but for someone that potentially might purchase a house in an area that may be a high touristic location, and then in the winter it turns into a ghost town. If they weren't fond of being in a ghost town, then that may affect things. So it's really about, exploring different parts of Croatia. What parts of Croatia do you like? Okay, what's it like during the summer? What's it like during the winter? What's it like during the autumn? Is there infrastructure there for, do you have a family? Is your infrastructure there for your kids? School? Where's the nearest school? Where's the nearest nursery? What are the people like? Do people speak maybe English to start with? Do people speak the language that you're used to? You've got to sort of maybe prepare for that. Making like a detailed plan of what you have to achieve before getting here. So, learning the base level of the language. How do I learn the language? I can learn it online with online teachers on italki.com. I could learn it through songs that I like and learn through lyrics. I could read books and translate some of that. There's also language apps that you can use now. Which way are you going to sort of educate yourself on a daily, weekly basis to be able to make those plans come true? Then obviously you've got to make financial plans. Do you have a remote business or a remote job? If so, that is definitely going to be your best bet, because then you can transition very easily. And if you do have a remote job, then potentially think about renting somewhere out and living here for 6 to 12 months before making a real decision on moving here full time. If you don't have that, and you either have to find a new job, which I would always recommend on my channel that you potentially get a remote job, because personally the wages here don't really match the cost of living. The cost of living since the euro has come in has gone, relatively high. I don't think realistically you can live off 1 wage here. If you have 2 wages, like with you and your spouse, then you could maybe have an all right life. That's if you had jobs here, and that's if they were just standard jobs. You would still probably struggle a lot. But then if you had like a really good job from the States or some other country that was paying you a lot to be online, and you could just remote work, that's obviously the best thing you can do. Otherwise, if you plan on potentially making a business here, if you are a Croatian citizen that's watching this video that moved away and wants to come back, you can get a business grant. You can get like 15,000 euros to start up a business. Say if you were opening a tradesman business, then half of it would go on tools and stuff you need for the job, and half of it you could use for paying your own salary and other things. So there's always that to keep in mind, but bear in mind that whatever business you plan to make over here, you need to prove that you have experience in that job. You can't just choose to do a job that you have zero experience in, because you won't get funding for that. But that is always an option for returning Croatian people, and it's a bit of an incentive, because obviously a lot of Croatian people have left the country, younger people, and they want them back. Because if we look at it and the Croatian people do not start coming back to this country, then they will start importing other people into the country. I don't want this to sound racist in any kind of way, but every country that this has happened to, it ends up ruining the culture, it ends up ruining the country, because the culture that you know for the country that you're in gets completely transformed. I mean, Britain, for instance, really had a strong culture, in my opinion, which I really think now has been completely erased. And not only has it been slowly erased, you're almost shamed upon to be proud of your country, which I think is a terrible thing. So yeah, if you're planning to make a business, you may have expectations in your head on how it's going to turn out. Now, what you've got to realize is that Balkan, or just Croatia, is not America. Croatia is not England. Croatia is not Australia. Croatia is not Canada. What you think potentially is an amazing idea may not just happen here. Let me give you an example. They tried putting a Starbucks here. Did it work? There is no Starbucks here. Because who would want to pay €5 or more for a Starbucks coffee that is literally just milk and sugar in a cup, when you can get a much better coffee for like €2? It's just not the culture. People don't have that takeout culture here. People don't want to take a coffee out. People want to sit and enjoy and talk to their friends and enjoy a coffee outside. This is what Croatia's about, and that's such a beautiful culture that I love. You know, I've fallen in love with the coffee culture here. I just enjoy so much to just go out and sit down, you know, do a little bit of people watching, or, you know, meet a friend, or just sit there and reflect and enjoy. It's just, you just feel like a bit more of a local. But I enjoy that part of it, you know. First of all, when I started using to come down for holidays, my dad used to sit me down in a coffee bar. I'd order a cappuccino. It'd be gone in like, I kid you not, 20 seconds. And my dad would always be like, well, we're sitting here for another couple hours. I don't know why you've drunk it so quick. And I'd be like, oh, well, it was tasty. You know, I'm not used to having such a small coffee. And yeah, down the hatch. And you're just used to always being in a state of fast life. Whereas like Croatia's all about slowing down, being more present, enjoying your surroundings. I mean, right now I'm walking down some random woods, but I am thoroughly enjoying this walk, which I will come down more often. Okay, so bearing in mind, if you're planning to open up a business, please, even if you're going to get a grant for 15k, please come with at least a year's worth of capital, so you've got something to sit on, something to fall back on in case things don't turn out the way that you wanted them to go. Looking back at how I did it, a little bit impulsive, but that's all part of my personality. But without being reckless and impulsive, I probably would never be here. So you have to have a certain level of that inside you. But I was also very naive. I was naive to think, well, I've created a business in England. I'm going to, like, no worries. I'll just be like a cat, just land on my feet no matter what. And I'll, you know, whatever hurdles come, I can deal with it. I can destroy it. I can, you know, I'll be okay. Which I am okay. But I realized, looking back, I mean, I wouldn't change anything. But the advice that I would give you is try and be more prepared, and be prepared for the uncertainty and for struggles, because this country ain't easy. It ain't easy, and that's why it potentially doesn't have a lot of immigrants in, apart from more wealthier expats, because it really isn't a viable place to live for people that don't have money, because you ain't going to get any benefits. You ain't going to just be given a house and be given some money to live off and, you know, live the life of Larry. No, life is tough here. If you don't, like, work things out by yourself, then you'll quickly be trodden on. It's dog eat dog here, and you get nothing for free. If you don't have, like, a certain amount of capital behind you, you are going to find it extremely difficult to live here if you don't have a stable income. If you come here without a job, thinking that you're just going to work it out, you could get by maybe month by month, perhaps, but you're going to find it extremely difficult. So it is best to have a buffer. It is best to have some kind of plan. Try not to be too impulsive or naive. Plan a year or two in advance. Put together everything you need, the finances, the job plan, where you're going to live, how much it's going to cost. There's also different issues that if you want to rent a place out, you might think, oh wow, you know, I can rent this place. But what you'll find is that potentially you can rent it during the winter and the start of spring, but when it becomes tourist season, you're going to get kicked out because they want to use it for Airbnb and Booking.com. So you keep this in mind as well. If you're living in sort of like Split or any kind of main city, they will probably boot you out. So that's maybe when you try and find someone that's potentially not interested in putting their, you know, their house on Airbnb, that wants more of a stable income over time rather than chasing it, doing tourist stuff, or maybe in some kind of village somewhere where you can get somewhere cheaper, or maybe buying a house somewhere cheaper or in non-touristic location. If you go towards the outskirts of Zagreb, for instance, you can pick up houses, I've seen, for literally, I would say 20, 30k, like cheapest. So you can get really cheap houses. Obviously, they're away from the sea, and most people want to live near the sea. That's where the attraction comes from. You know where you're going to find a house for that price, unless you're extremely, extremely lucky. You really ain't going to find anything decent under 100,000 in Dalmatia now. Be prepared for every part of your journey to legalize your residence and other things here, health insurance. Yeah, just prepare for every legal thing that you need to sort out to be a struggle. Whether it's importing a car, whether it's getting residence, whether it's whatever you do. If it's in Dalmatia, I can't speak for the other areas that are maybe a bit more advanced, but Dalmatia is still very much behind. And everything is a battle. And when you're sorting these things out, it is going to be a struggle. But you just need to remind yourself why you've moved to Croatia and why you want to move here and why you want to live here. And those struggles become irrelevant. I mean, they don't become irrelevant, but they come more manageable. You just got to remind yourself that there is struggle. It is going to be hard. In the end, your happiness, your well-being, your health is going to be far better when you're here. And those legal things, it's only short-term pain. I mean, it can be long-term pain because things can drag on, but look at it as like, once it's done, it's done. When you move here, it's going to be the hardest part, probably. The hardest part of the struggle. But once you get past the hardest struggle, then that's when the more of the easier life comes in. If you want to do any renovations on your house and you're not handy, then finding the right tradesman is going to be very difficult. You can pay quite a lot of money, shoddy work, or work that you wouldn't expect in your own country. Just keep that in mind. Materials in some cases here are more expensive than UK, for instance. Why? Because there's probably less competition, less supply, more demand equals higher prices. That's the way it works. So, you know, doing up your house can be quite expensive, plus finding the time with tradesmen, plus them stressing you out because, you know, they don't have an organized diary. They come when they want to. You have to treat them like God because they can walk at any point. The tradesmen in England, for instance, like, as a tradesman, you've got to look up to the client and, you know, the client is the boss. Whereas here, it's like the tradesman is the boss. Like, you literally have to bow down to them, and even if they do a crappy job and leave a mess, you can't really say anything. And people will still keep having them because there's a shortage. So I would say also, if you're a tradesman and you do want to live in Croatia, there is a ton of opportunity for you here, a ton. Because people are looking for good workers, people are looking for quality work, people are looking for organization. I would say if that really is your passion, I mean, it isn't mine, I know I started that way, but if it's your passion and it's your like skill and you enjoy doing it, then you will never be short of work. And, you know, there's plenty of opportunities if you wanted to try some other trade potentially, like, you know, we don't have swimming pools in the UK, there's swimming pools here. You know, there isn't enough people to service these swimming pools to do this, that and the other. That could potentially be a job opportunity. You know, people don't necessarily do things like window cleaning here. You could be a window cleaner, just clean everyone's window and earn like, I don't know, 10 euros per job and keep doing many and have that, you know, monthly certain income coming in and take over. You know, you just got to look at like holes in the system. What are people not doing? Could you do that as a service? How can you get in? It's going to be a slow burner to work for the Croatian people because if you don't speak the language, it may be difficult because they, unlike the UK where you literally advertise your business, they call you, you do a job, you don't really talk much apart from, you know, the professional speak at the start. You do the job, you get paid, you go, right? Here in Croatia, it's different, right? People want to know that you're a trusted person before you get in their house. So first they want to meet you, they might want to have a coffee with you, just to kind of interrogate you and see if you're like a normal person. Now, I have met some decent people like this, but at the same time, I see it as a waste of time and a waste of money because I don't want to personally know these people, some of them. Some of them I do, like some of them are genuinely nice people that I want to see again, but as my job, I just want to get in, do my job, get paid and go out. It's very difficult to do that here. So you almost need to like potentially account with your expenses for that kind of thing as well. But if you do that, you potentially won't get the job either. So It's just a different way of working. You've just got to understand that it isn't all about profit, profit, profit here. It's maybe more about a chilled out more life. But if you're working for a builder, for instance, then maybe you can just, you know, bust out the job and hopefully get paid by the builder. But I don't think the builders here know how to deal with cash flow, and you probably wait a bit for your, you know, money. I'm sorry I'm talking so much about trades over here, but that's kind of like the experience I have. I will hopefully talk to more expats who deal with different businesses such as restaurants and stuff, and I can give you a bit more of a heads up on that. I've heard restaurants are quite difficult to open and maintain, especially if you become competition for other main restaurants around. I don't know how true it is, but I've heard it's kind of a bit like a little bit of mafia, where if you become new in the hood and you're competition, then potentially they can keep sending you inspectors to try and mess you around. This is just from one source I've heard, so don't just think that's the way it is. I would say if you're having that kind of business, just watch out. So yeah, you really need to do your research in whatever you're planning to do. If you're planning to open up a business, then just do your research with that business, see what it actually entails, because everything is going to be so different to where you're from. And things are a lot harder here than they are in westernized countries where infrastructure is so much better. And yeah, you just need to be ready for that. None of this stuff that I'm trying to tell you is negative. Obviously it sounds negative, but what I'm just trying to do is prepare you for what's to come. Because if you're prepared, then you understand what's going to happen. You can fight through those difficulties, you can overcome them, and you can succeed and thrive. There is plenty of like potential out here. I see it every day. Obviously, this country is mostly run around tourism, so a lot of people here, they work for the 4 or 5 months of the year that they have tourists, and then for the rest of the year they save the money and just spend it accordingly, but don't really work. So in a way, that's a great lifestyle to have as well. Imagine working 4 or 5 months busting your balls, but then the rest of the 6-7 months you can literally just sit in a coffee bar enjoying with your friends and enjoy life. I mean, that's perfect, right? Perfect for some. But obviously it depends on like your spending. You know, if you're a big spender, then you won't be able to do that. But if you can live within your means and live more of a simpler life, I mean, going for a coffee isn't expensive. It's like €2. You go and see a friend, spend €2 on a coffee, stay there for a couple hours, do a bit of gardening, go for a walk, enjoy with your family. You don't have to spend much. But if you're one of these people that goes out for dinner all the time, then you may struggle. Also, you have the option where you might say, well, I don't really like the winter in Croatia. I like the summer here, and I'd like to spend the summer here. So maybe you can go to your home country, just like other sort of immigrants do in other countries. They work, they bust their balls in one country for like 6 months, like the tourist season. So you would go back to your home country for the winter, do your work for 6 months, go to Croatia for 6 months in the summer, and just enjoy and relax and live a cheaper lifestyle than it is in the country you're from. So yeah, these are just a few tips that come off the top of my head. I've got nothing scripted, so maybe I'm missing some things, but these are just literally the thoughts that just popped to my head as I'm having this walk. Hopefully some of it was helpful to you. I don't want it to come out negative. I don't want it to, you know, push you away from Croatia. I just want to open your eyes to make sure that you're properly planned, you're properly ready, and you know exactly what's to wait for you. You know exactly what you need to do in order to thrive and live a good life here. So if you enjoyed this episode, please like the video. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, because it means the world. I can reach more people. And if you want to join my newsletter, I will be sending more newsletters out. I've been quite slow with it recently, but I will be sending more weekly newsletters out to give you guys heads up in opportunities. So I'm getting a phone call now. So we will catch you guys soon. All the best.